Medusas are creatures both deadly and captivating, bearing the curse of their own vanity. They possess the appearance of alluring beings with serpents for hair, but this beauty conceals a terrible fate for those who gaze upon them. The origin of Medusas lies in the pursuit of eternal youth, beauty, and adoration. Some individuals resort to dark means, seeking the favor of malicious gods, ancient magic from dragons, or the assistance of powerful archmages. These desperate souls offer sacrifices to demon lords or archdevils, often without realizing the curse that accompanies their desires. In exchange, they gain physical beauty, restored youth, immortality, and the adoration of all who see them. However, as the years pass, the price for their vanity and arrogance comes due, and they transform into Medusas. Their once beautiful hair becomes a nest of venomous serpents, and anyone who meets their gaze is turned to stone, a permanent monument to their own corruption. Medusas live in eternal seclusion, cut off from the world due to their monstrous form and the curse they bear. Over time, their homes decay into shadowy ruins, overgrown with thorns and creepers, filled with obstacles and hiding spots. Foolish looters and adventurers who stumble into these ruins often do not realize the Medusa's presence until it is too late. Ironically, Medusas are not immune to their own curse. If they gaze upon their own reflection, they too turn to stone, just like any other mortal. Consequently, Medusas take precautions, eliminating mirrors and reflective surfaces from their lairs to avoid this grim fate. Mephits, imp-like creatures, hail from the elemental planes. There are 6 varieties, each representing a blend of 2 elements. These ageless tricksters gather in large numbers on the elemental planes and in the elemental chaos. Some also find their way to the material plane, where they prefer environments abundant in their base elements. For example, magma Mephits, composed of earth and fire, favor volcanic lairs, while ice Mephits, combining air and water, prefer frigid locations. Mephits have elemental nature, needing neither food, drink, nor sleep. Dust Mephits, formed from earth and air, are drawn to catacombs and have a morbid fascination with death. Ice Mephits, created from frigid air and water, are known for their aloofness and extreme cruelty. Magma Mephits, comprised of earth and fire, glow red and perspire molten lava. They tend to be slow in understanding others. Mud Mephits, made of earth and water, are slow and sticky beings. They constantly voice complaints and beg for attention and treasure. Smoke Mephits, a combination of air and fire, emit continuous smoke and are known for their deceitful nature. They enjoy mocking and misleading others. Steam Mephits, a fusion of fire and water, leave hot water trails and emit hissing steam. They are bossy and hypersensitive, often considering themselves the leaders of all Mephits. Merfolk are aquatic humanoids characterized by the upper body of a human and the lower body of a fish. They often decorate their skin and scales with shell ornaments. Merfolk tribes and kingdoms are spread across the world's oceans, each with its own unique culture and beliefs. Land-dwelling humans rarely encounter merfolk, but tales of romance between the two species are occasionally shared by mariners who have ventured along remote island shores. Merfolk lack the means to craft weapons, books, or buildings beneath the waves. Consequently, they tend to live in small hunter-gatherer tribes, each with its distinct values and principles. On rare occasions, they unite under a single leader, typically in response to a common threat or for conquest, leading to the establishment of undersea kingdoms that can endure for centuries. Merfolk create settlements in various locations, including vast undersea caverns, coral mazes, sunken city ruins, or structures they carve from the rocky seabed. These communities thrive in shallow waters, allowing the passage of time to be marked by the shifting sunlight beneath the surface. They engage in activities such as coral harvesting and seabed farming, similar to land-based agriculture. Only occasionally do they venture into the darkest ocean depths, relying on bioluminescent flora and fauna like jellyfish for illumination. For defense, Merfolk craft spears from materials salvaged from shipwrecks, beaches, or deceased undersea creatures. These spears serve as their primary means of protection, safeguarding their settlements from threats that may arise in their underwater world. Merrow are fearsome creatures that inhabit coastal waters, posing a significant threat to fisherfolk, merfolk, and any other unsuspecting prey that crosses their path. These savage monsters seize and devour their victims, often bringing the drowned remains back to their underwater grottos for sustenance. The origins of the Merrow trace back to a tribe of merfolk who discovered an idol of Demogorgon deep beneath the sea. Unaware of its true nature, they brought the artifact to their king, and anyone who touched it succumbed to madness. The king, afflicted by this madness, decreed a sacrificial ritual to open a gateway to the abyss. The ocean ran red with the blood of slaughtered merfolk, but the ritual succeeded, leading the survivors through the underwater gate to Demogorgon's lair in the abyss. Over generations, the abyss warped and transformed them into hulking, malevolent monstrosities, giving rise to the first Merrow. Merrow often act as the enforcers of the Prince of Demons, sent back to the material plane to sow chaos in the oceans. They are bullies by nature, attacking any creature smaller or weaker than themselves, relishing in acts of aggression. Their underwater abodes are filled with treasures and trophies collected from their victims and sunken ships. To mark their territory, Merrow use strands of kelp to tie the rotting corpses of their foes and drowned sailors, creating macabre boundaries in the depths of the ocean. Mimics are predatory creatures capable of shape-shifting, assuming the guise of inanimate objects to deceive and ensnare unsuspecting prey. Within dungeons and underground passages, these cunning beings often take on the appearance of doors and chests, knowing that these forms attract curious explorers. Mimics possess the ability to alter their outer texture, mimicking materials like wood or stone. They have evolved to mimic objects that other creatures are likely to interact with. When in their disguised form, mimics are nearly indistinguishable from genuine objects until potential prey stumbles into their trap. At that point, the mimic swiftly transforms, sprouting pseudopods and launching an attack. Mimics secrete a sticky adhesive when they change shape, allowing them to grasp onto both prey and weapons that come into contact with them. This adhesive is later absorbed when the mimic shifts back to its amorphous form or moves itself using the affected parts. Mimics are solitary hunters, although they might occasionally share their hunting grounds with other creatures. While most mimics possess only predatory intelligence, a rare few have evolved to become more cunning. These advanced mimics can engage in simple conversations in common or undercommon, and may offer safe passage through their territories or provide valuable information in exchange for food. Mind Flayers, also known as Illithids, are formidable adversaries that plague sentient beings across numerous worlds. These psionic tyrants are masters of mind control, enslavement, and interdimensional exploration, sporting octopus-like heads with 4 tentacles that eagerly flex when they sense the presence of sentient creatures. In ancient times, Illithids ruled vast empires that spanned multiple worlds. They subjected and twisted entire races of humanoid slaves, including the Githyanki, Githzerai, Grimlocks, and Quotoa. Linked by a shared consciousness, they continue to hatch malevolent plots as vast and sinister as their unfathomable intellects allow. Following the fall of their empires, Illithid collectives on the material plane took refuge in the dark and treacherous Underdark. These creatures possess formidable psionic abilities, allowing them to dominate the minds of beings such as troglodytes, grimlocks, quaggoths, and ogres. Illithids prefer telepathic communication and employ it to command their thralls. When faced with formidable resistance, Illithids avoid direct combat, instead directing their thralls to engage their foes. These thralls act as extensions of the Illithid's thoughts, offering themselves as shields to protect their master's escape. The majority of Illithids belong to colonies of sibling mind flayers that venerate an elder brain. This massive brain-like entity resides in a briny pool at the heart of a mind flayer community. Over a range of 5 miles, the Elder Brain telepathically conveys its desires to every individual Illithid, capable of managing multiple mental conversations simultaneously. Illithids sustain themselves by consuming the brains of humanoids. These brains provide essential enzymes, hormones, and psychic energy for their survival. A well-fed Illithid secretes a thin mucus layer that coats its mauve-colored skin. Feasting upon a humanoid brain brings euphoria to an Illithid, absorbing not only the brain, but also its memories, personality, and deepest fears. On occasion, mind flayers harvest brains rather than consuming them, employing them in strange experiments or transforming them into intellect devourers. Minotaurs, fearsome and savage creatures, evoke dread with their thunderous roars. Born into existence through dark demonic rituals, they are relentless conquerors and predators, their fur matted with the blood of their fallen adversaries and the scent of death trailing behind them. These creatures are solitary carnivores, often found prowling labyrinthine dungeons, twisted caves, primeval forests, and the maze-like remnants of long-forgotten ruins. Minotaurs possess an innate ability to visualize every possible route to their prey, driven by an insatiable hunger for carnage that overwhelms all reason and thought. When caught in a blood rage, they charge with reckless abandon, using their powerful horns as battering rams before cleaving their victims in two. Strategic planning and tactics hold little appeal for Minotaurs, making them formidable and unpredictable opponents. Minotaurs are not inclined to organization, respect for authority, or hierarchy. They are notoriously difficult to enslave or control, often resisting any attempt to dominate them. The origins of Minotaurs trace back to cults known as the Cults of the Horned King, created by Demon Lord Baphomet, also known as the Horned King. Inductees into these cults, often mistaking them for druidic or totemic religions, undergo rituals that involve entering a labyrinth while wearing ceremonial animal masks. Initially, cultists engage in primal acts like hunting and killing wild beasts, but as they progress, these cults turn towards darker rituals, culminating in humanoid sacrifices, often those who attempted to escape the cult after discovering its sinister secrets. These mystery cults remain hidden from the world, and only their highest-ranking leaders are aware of their true connection to the Demon Lord Baphomet. It is he who transforms the cultists into Minotaurs, reflecting his own savage form. Over time, some of these Minotaurs breed among themselves, giving rise to an independent race of Baphomet's savage offspring in the material world. Modrons are creatures of unwavering law and order, residing in the plane of Myconids, where they diligently oversee the eternal machinery that keeps their plane running smoothly. They exist in a highly structured hierarchy, and their existence revolves around maintaining perfect order in the multiverse. Guided by their supreme leader Primus, Modrons carry out their duties with absolute obedience, efficiency, and a complete absence of morality or ego. Their minds are interconnected in a hierarchical pyramid, with each Modron receiving commands from superiors and delegating orders to subordinates. These beings have no sense of self. They think collectively as a unified collective, referring to themselves as we or us. Communication among Modrons is limited to their own rank and those immediately above and below them. Modrons of differing ranks cannot understand each other, as they are either too advanced or too simple in their thought processes. In Myconids, the plane itself ensures the perpetuation of Modrons. When a Modron is destroyed, it disintegrates, and a replacement from the next lower rank instantly transforms, assuming the physical form of its new rank. This process continues down the hierarchy until the lowest levels, where Primus personally creates new Modrons. Every 289 years, when the gears of Myconids complete 17 cycles, Primus initiates the Great Modron March. This monumental event involves sending a massive army of Modrons across the outer planes on what appears to be a reconnaissance mission. The march is fraught with danger, and only a fraction of the Modrons return to Myconids. Monodrones are the lowest ranked Modrons. They can perform one simple task at a time and relay a message of up to 48 words. Duodrones, with their blocky forms, supervise groups of monodrones and are capable of handling up to 2 tasks simultaneously. Tridrones, resembling inverted pyramids, take charge of lesser Modrons during battles and conflicts. Quadrones are skilled combatants, serving as artillery and field officers in Modron armies. Pentadrones have the ability to oversee Mechanis's working populace and adapt to new situations as necessary. Mummies are undead creatures created through dark funerary rituals. They rise from their tombs with an unholy curse, punishing transgressors who disturb their rest. To preserve their bodies, mummies undergo an embalming process that involves removing organs, using preserving oils and herbs, and wrapping the corpse in linen bandages. The creation of an undead mummy is a result of a priest of a death god or dark deity imbuing a prepared corpse with necromantic magic. This process involves inscribing necromantic markings on the linen wrappings and concluding with an invocation to darkness. A mummy awakens when certain conditions specified by the ritual are met, most commonly transgressions against its tomb, treasures, lands, or loved ones. Individuals turned into mummies may have been powerful individuals who displeased a high priest or pharaoh, committed crimes such as treason, adultery, or murder, and were thus cursed with eternal undeath. Mummies also serve as tomb guardians and can be created from slaves put to death for a specific purpose. A mummy follows the conditions and parameters set by the ritual that created it, driven to punish transgressors. The terror preceding a mummy's attack can paralyze its victim with fright. Following a mummy's touch, the victim's body rots from the outside in until it turns to dust. To end a mummy's curse, rare magic can undo the ritual, allowing the mummy to truly die. More commonly, the transgression that caused the mummy to rise must be undone. This may involve returning stolen treasures to the tomb, replacing a sacred idol, or purifying a desecrated temple. Some offenses, like revealing a mummy's secret or killing someone the mummy loved, cannot be easily remedied. While mummies can speak, they seldom do so. Some mummies serve as undead repositories of lost lore, consulted by descendants seeking their knowledge. Mummy lords are even more potent mummies, retaining memories and personality from their former lives. Created through a more potent ritual, mummy lords possess supernatural resilience. They wield powerful weapons and magic associated with their past and are a formidable undead presence. Myconids are intelligent fungi residing in the depths of the Underdark. They seek enlightenment and are averse to violence. If approached peacefully, Myconids are hospitable and may provide shelter or safe passage through their colonies. Myconid society is organized into circles, with the largest Myconid serving as the sovereign overseeing one or more circles. A circle typically consists of 20 or more Myconids who live, work, and engage in a unique practice known as melding. Melding is a form of communal meditation facilitated by their rapport spores, which bind participants into a collective consciousness. During melding, hallucination spores induce a shared dream that serves as a source of entertainment and social interaction. Myconids consider melding to be the central purpose of their existence. They use their rapport spores to communicate telepathically with other sentient creatures. Myconids reproduce through spores, much like other fungi, carefully regulating the release of spores to avoid overpopulation. Additionally, Myconids possess the ability to transform creatures into spore servants using their animating spores. This transformation is applicable to large or smaller creatures that were once flesh and blood. The resulting spore servant gains specific characteristics as a result of this transformation. Nagas, intelligent serpents, dwell in ancient ruins, accumulating arcane knowledge and treasures. Originally created as immortal guardians by a now-forgotten humanoid race, they consider themselves the rightful heirs to their master's wealth. Industrious and determined, they occasionally leave their lairs to acquire magical items and rare spellbooks. Nagas are immune to time's effects and diseases. Even if struck down, their immortal spirits re-emerge in new bodies within days, persisting in their eternal pursuits. These serpentine beings rule their domains with unwavering authority, whether through benevolence or tyranny, asserting their dominance over all creatures within. Nagas harbor a long-standing rivalry with Yuan-Ti, both races viewing themselves as the pinnacle of serpentine evolution. Despite occasional cooperation, tensions simmer as Yuan-Ti resist Naga authority. Nagas subsist without the need for air, food, drink, or sleep. In response to their conflict with Nagas, Yuan-Ti devised a necromantic ritual. This ritual transforms living Nagas into skeletal undead servitors known as Bone Nagas, who retain only a fraction of their former spells. Guardian Nagas, wise and benevolent, safeguard sacred places and powerful artifacts from malevolent forces. They prefer warning intruders but unleash their spells and venomous spittle upon persistent foes. Spirit Nagas, residing in shadowy realms, nurse grudges against those they believe have wronged them. They dwell in dismal caverns, devising spells and enslaving mortals. These cunning creatures charm their enemies, luring them close to deliver venomous bites. The Nightmare, a fearsome creature, emerges amidst swirling smoke with a body cloaked in dark, fiery hues. It moves with unearthly speed, disappearing in a burst of sulfurous vapor. Often referred to as a demon horse or hell horse, the Nightmare serves as a steed for exceptionally malevolent beings, such as demons, devils, death knights, leeches, and night hags. Its appearance resembles that of a fiendish horse, and its fiery red eyes betray its sinister intelligence. Nightmares can be summoned from the lower planes, but they show no loyalty to their summoners unless a worthy sacrifice is offered as sustenance upon their arrival. These creatures do not occur naturally. They must be crafted from Pegasi. The creation of a nightmare involves a ritual that cruelly removes the Pegasus's wings, driving the once noble creature toward evil as it undergoes a transformation through dark magic. In the depths of darkness, a malevolent eye gleams, hinting at an eerie intelligence and unsettling malice. Typically, a Nothic observes and assesses the creatures it encounters. When provoked to violence, it employs a dreadful gaze that withers flesh from the bones of its adversaries. Some wizards consumed by a relentless pursuit of arcane knowledge meet a dismal fate. A dark curse linked to Vecna, a powerful lich who, in certain realms, has ascended to godhood, transforms these once proud spellcasters into Nothics. Nothics, however, retain no memory of their former selves, lurking in shadows and haunting places rich in arcane wisdom, driven by memories and impulses they cannot fully comprehend. Nothics possess an uncanny magical insight that enables them to extract knowledge from other creatures. This grants them a unique understanding of secret and forbidden lore, which they share in exchange for a price. Nothics are covetous of magic items and readily accept such offerings from those who seek their knowledge. Nothics are known for infiltrating arcane academies and other locations teeming with magical learning. They are motivated by a vague awareness that a method exists to reverse their condition. It's not a clear sense of purpose, but rather an obsessive tug at the edges of their minds. Some clever Nothics realize that this is merely a part of the enigmatic lesson of their folly, a false hope intended to drive them to uncover more arcane secrets. Ogres, known for their immense strength and sluggish intellect, sustain themselves through raiding, scavenging, and hunting for both sustenance and enjoyment. Typically, these creatures stand between 9 and 10 feet tall and weigh nearly 1,000 pounds. Ogres possess fiery tempers, easily provoked by the slightest perceived offense. Insults, name-calling, or even a sideways glance can trigger their wrath. In moments of fury, ogres engage in destructive tantrums until their targets or objects to smash run out. Ogres have an omnivorous diet, but particularly relish the taste of dwarves, halflings, and elves. They often chase their prey for sport before devouring them raw. Some ogres fashion crude garments and macabre jewelry from the remains of their victims, considering it the pinnacle of their culture. Ogres covet the possessions of others, accumulating treasures in rough sacks during their raids. Their loot might include battered helmets, moldy cheese, fur cloaks, or even a squealing pig. The glitter of gold and silver especially excites them, and they frequently fight over small amounts of coin. Offering them gold or suitable weapons can earn their trust. Ogres generally lack intellectual prowess, struggling with basic counting and communicating in rudimentary giant and some common words. They are gullible and easily deceived, but tend to break things they don't comprehend. Those who try to outwit them often find themselves in peril. Ogres dress in animal pelts, fashion crude tools from uprooted trees, and create stone-tipped javelins for hunting. They settle near the fringes of civilized lands, preying on livestock, poorly defended stores, and unwary farmers. They take over cabins or isolated farmhouses, killing the occupants and making these locations their lairs. Ogres live in caves, animal dens, or under trees until they locate a suitable dwelling, attacking anything in their path when bored or hungry. They move on once the area is depleted of food. Occasionally, ogres form small, nomadic groups, although they lack a strong sense of tribalism. When these bands meet, they might capture members from the other group to bolster their own. However, ogre bands are just as likely to trade members, especially when one group has an abundance of food and weapons. Ogres frequently ally with other monsters to bully or prey on weaker creatures, associating freely with goblinoids, orcs, trolls, and showing particular reverence for giants. When ogres mate with humans, hobgoblins, bugbears, or orcs, the result is always a half-ogre. Such unions are fatal for human mothers. These half-ogres, also known as ogrions, typically stand at 8 feet tall and weigh around 450 pounds. Oni, creatures of folklore and dread, are not the mere stuff of nursery rhymes. They are real and relentlessly ravenous. These demonic ogres possess blue or green skin, dark hair, and 2 short ivory horns on their foreheads. Their eyes are dark with strikingly white pupils, while their teeth and claws are jet black. Oni conceal their true forms with magic during daylight hours, gaining the trust of those they plan to betray under the shroud of darkness. They possess the ability to change both their size and shape, adopting humanoid appearances as they infiltrate towns, masquerading as travelers, woodcutters, or villagers. In these forms, they assess the inhabitants of settlements, devising methods to abduct and consume their chosen victims. Oni are often referred to as ogre mages due to their innate magical prowess. While distantly related to true ogres, they share a penchant for forming alliances with other malevolent creatures. Oni willingly serve as henchmen if it promises riches or access to a well-defended sanctuary. They have a strong affinity for magic and readily collaborate with wicked wizards and hags in exchange for valuable magical artifacts and items. Oozes thrive in darkness, avoiding bright light and extreme temperatures. They traverse the damp underground, dissolving any creature or object they can consume, moving along the ground, dripping from walls and ceilings, and spreading around underground pools. The warning sign of an ooze's presence is often the painful touch of its acidic substance. Oozes are attracted to warmth and movement, feeding on organic material and resorting to grime, fungi, and offal when prey is scarce. Experienced adventurers recognize that a spotlessly clean passage may indicate an ooze's lair nearby. Oozes kill their prey slowly, with some types engulfing creatures to prevent escape. The silver lining to this agonizing demise is that the victim's companions can potentially rescue them in time. As oozes don't digest all substances, some contain coins, metal gear, bones, and debris within their gelatinous bodies, providing a source of treasure when slain. Despite their lack of intelligence, some creatures understand oozes' need to feed and manipulate them into useful roles. Clever monsters may employ oozes to defend passages or dispose of waste. Alternatively, oozes can be enticed into pit traps, where they are fed regularly to prevent them from pursuing their captors. Crafty individuals strategically place torches and braziers to deter Oozes from entering certain tunnels or rooms. According to certain sources, Oozes are fragments or offspring of the demon lord Juiblex. While this claim's veracity remains uncertain, Juiblex is one of the few beings capable of controlling Oozes and granting them a degree of intelligence. Typically, Oozes lack tactics or self-preservation instincts, acting straightforwardly and predictably. Under Juiblex's control, they may exhibit traces of sentience and malicious intent. Oozes do not require sleep. A black pudding resembles a heaving mass of sticky black sludge, often appearing as a shadowy blot in dim passages. It dissolves flesh, wood, metal, and bone, leaving behind wiped clean stone. Gelatinous cubes traverse dungeon corridors in a silent, predictable manner, leaving perfectly clean paths in their wake. They consume living tissue while sparing bones and other materials. Gelatinous cubes are nearly transparent, making them challenging to spot until they attack. A well-fed cube may be easier to notice, as objects and bones of its victims are suspended within. A gray ooze represents stone transformed into liquid by chaos. When it moves, it slithers like a fluid snake, rising to strike when attacking. Ochre jellies are yellowish blobs that can infiltrate spaces through doors and narrow cracks while pursuing their prey. They possess enough instinct to avoid large groups of enemies and often follow their prey at a safe distance. Ochre jellies swiftly dissolve flesh but have no effect on substances like bone, wood, and metal. Orcs are savage marauders characterized by their stooped posture, low foreheads, and piggish faces with prominent lower canines resembling tusks. They worship Grumsh, the most powerful of orc deities who created them. Legend has it that when Grumsh tried to claim various territories for orcs, he found them already occupied by other races, leading to his everlasting enmity with humans, elves, dwarves, and more. Orcs harbor a particular hatred for elves due to Grumsh's eye being half-blinded by the elven god Corellon Larethian. This injury has fueled orc joy in slaughtering elves. In a grim tradition, Grumsh grants divine power to any champion who willingly plucks out one of their eyes in his honor. Orcs form tribes that satisfy their bloodlust by raiding and plundering, attacking villages, hunting roaming herds, and slaughtering humanoids. After raiding, orcs pillage wealth and useful items before setting fire to the remains and retreating. To remain near potential targets, orcs establish temporary strongholds in ruins, cavern complexes, and defeated foes' villages. These strongholds prioritize defense over innovation or improvement. When their current territory is depleted, orc tribes split into roving bands to scout for new hunting grounds, returning with trophies and news of potential targets. Orc tribes are usually patriarchal, led by chiefs with vivid or grotesque titles such as Many Arrows and Elf Ripper. Occasionally, a powerful war chief unites scattered tribes into a formidable horde, overwhelming other tribes and humanoid settlements. Strength and power are highly regarded in orc culture, leading them to embrace creatures like ogres, trolls, half-orcs, and orogs in their ranks. They also serve evil giants willingly, ranking beneath giants in the social structure known as the Ordning. Nothic, the orc goddess of fertility, encourages frequent and indiscriminate procreation. Orcs readily crossbreed with other races, resulting in half-orcs and even half-ogres known as Ograyons. The war chief of an orc tribe must command fear and respect to maintain their reign. They receive blessings from Grumsh himself, allowing their weapons to cause more harm in battle. King Obuld is a legendary orc war chief in the Forgotten Realms. He established a kingdom in the spine of the world after years of conflict with neighboring dwarves, humans, and elves. He even brokered a peace treaty with his enemies, which was met with both confusion and suspicion. When an orc slays an elf in Grumsh's name and offers the corpse as a sacrifice, an aspect of the god may appear. It may grant the orc spellcasting abilities and the right to be called an Eye of Grumsh, provided they pluck out one of their own eyes as a sign of devotion. Orog are orcs blessed with intelligence, often living underground but occasionally venturing to the surface to hunt. They are stronger and smarter than ordinary orcs, using their strength to dominate other orcs and their intelligence to outmaneuver enemies. Orog detachments are formed within larger orc hordes, leading the way in attacks. These superior beings may challenge orc warchiefs, creating tensions. Orogs have no emotional attachments, even to family members, and worship orc deities like Grumsh and Luthic solely because of their physical might. Some Orogs become independent mercenary bands, serving as elite warriors and shock troops for evil beings in exchange for rewards. The Otyugh is a peculiar and grotesque creature with a distinctive appearance. It stands on 3 sturdy legs, and atop its bloated body sits a vine-like stalk that bears its eyes and nose. 2 rubbery tentacles extend from its body, ending in spiky, leaf-like appendages, which it uses to shovel food into its wide, gaping maw. Otyughs have a rather unsettling behavior when it comes to hunting. They bury themselves under piles of carrion and refuse, leaving only their sensory stalk exposed. When a potential meal happens to come by, the Otyugh's tentacles spring from the filth and swiftly capture their prey. These creatures are opportunistic ambush predators and employ a limited form of telepathy to manipulate sentient creatures, luring them towards their lairs. In some cases, they might even mimic something else to attract their victims. Otyughs are creatures of darkness and prefer dimly lit environments. They tolerate bright light only when there's an abundance of carrion or garbage nearby. They often inhabit stagnant swamps, scum-covered ponds, and damp forest areas. The stench of graveyards, city sewers, village waste heaps, and animal pens filled with manure attracts them to more populated areas. Otyughs have a strange penchant for accumulating various items within their nests. These items are often the discarded possessions of their victims mixed in with the garbage. Interestingly, sentient subterranean beings have learned to coexist with Otyughs. They employ these creatures as garbage disposals, providing them with ample sustenance in exchange for their guardianship. As long as they are well fed, Otyughs typically refrain from attacking other creatures. However, it's crucial to provide them with enough waste, carrion, and meat, as underestimating their voracious appetite can lead to unexpected consequences, including the Otyugh turning on its keeper and devouring them after depleting its food source. The Owlbear is a creature that strikes fear into the hearts of those who venture into dark forests and valleys. Its appearance is a bizarre amalgamation of a bear's body and an owl's head. Feathers cover its shaggy, bear-like coat, and its large, round eyes glare menacingly from its owlish visage. Owlbears are renowned for their ferocity, aggression, stubbornness, and bad temper. They are among the most feared predators in the wild. Hungry owlbears fear little and are known to attack without provocation. Even creatures larger and stronger than owlbears tend to avoid confrontations with them, as these creatures care little for the superior strength of their foes. These creatures are consummate predators, primarily active from sunset into the darkest hours of the night. They use hooting or screeching sounds to declare territory, seek mates, or flush out prey in their familiar forested hunting grounds. Owlbears establish their dens in caves or ruins littered with the bones of their prey. They drag partially devoured kills back to their lairs and store portions of carcasses among the surrounding rocks, bushes, and trees. The scent of blood and rotting flesh around their lair attracts scavengers, creating a perpetual cycle of luring more prey. Owlbears typically hunt alone or in mated pairs. If food is abundant, they may stay together as a family for extended periods, but they usually part ways once the young are capable of hunting on their own. Taming owlbears is a challenging endeavor due to their stubborn and aggressive nature. However, with time, patience, and ample food, intelligent creatures can train owlbears to recognize them as masters, turning them into loyal guards or even mounts. Some communities, like elven villages, encourage owlbears to den beneath their treetop homes, using them as natural defenders during the night. Hobgoblins employ owlbears as war beasts, while giants sometimes keep them as pets. Starved owlbears have been known to appear in gladiatorial arenas where they mercilessly eviscerate and devour their foes. The origins of owlbears remain a subject of debate among scholars. One theory suggests that a demented wizard created the first owlbear by crossing a giant owl with a bear. However, venerable elves claim to have known these creatures for millennia, and some Fae insist that owlbears have always existed in the Feywild. Pegasi, the white-winged horses, are creatures of grace and majesty as they glide through the skies. Their elegant presence is a sight to behold. When they briefly descend to the earth, it's usually to quench their thirst from mountain springs and pristine lakes. However, any sign or sound of another creature startles them, prompting them to take flight once more, disappearing into the sky. Highly regarded as noble mounts, Pegasi are sought after for their swiftness and reliability. Compared to griffins, hippogriffs, and wyverns, Pegasi are both faster and less temperamental. Despite their intelligence, Pegasi cannot be traditionally broken and tamed. Instead, they must be persuaded to serve a good aligned creature as a mount. Once they form this bond, it lasts a lifetime. Pegasi trace their origins to the Olympian glades of Arborea, where they soar through the skies of that plane. In this realm, they serve as faithful mounts to the Seldarine, the pantheon of elven gods. These divine beings have been known to send Pegasi to the material plane to aid those in need. Pegasi mate for life and construct their nests in remote and hard-to-reach locations. Unlike some creatures that lay eggs, Pegasi give birth to live young, adding to the uniqueness of their species. The Peryton is a monstrous carnivore known for its preference for humanoid prey, particularly elves, half-elves, and humans. When it hunts and kills a humanoid, the Peryton has a gruesome habit of ripping out its victim's heart and taking it back to its nest for consumption. This creature's appearance is a bizarre blend of a bird of prey with the body and wings of a bird and the head of a stag. However, its most peculiar feature is its shadow, which does not reflect its physical form, but instead appears humanoid. The origin of the Peryton is shrouded in folklore and mystery. Some scholars believe they were once humans transformed by a curse or magical experiment, while others tell a tale of a woman's dark ritual after her husband's infidelity, which turned carrion birds that feasted on her corpse into the first Perytons. Peryton reproduction relies on the consumption of a freshly killed humanoid heart by a female Peryton. This unique requirement is essential for their procreation. When a Peryton consumes a heart, its shadow briefly reflects its true monstrous form. In combat, Perytons are relentless and single-minded when attacking humanoids. They fight until either they or their prey is defeated. If they are driven away during an attack, they will often stalk their prey from a distance and strike again when an opportunity arises. Perytons are often found roosting atop mountain ridges and lairing in high caves. They prey on creatures in the valleys below and pose a significant threat to travelers on remote mountain roads. These creatures are challenging to defeat as normal weapons are less effective against them. Settlements in their territory often hire adventurers to eliminate Peryton nests as a means of protecting their communities from this menacing threat. The creature known as the Piercer is a cunning predator that dwells in the dark recesses of caverns and large underground passages. It has perfected the art of deception by clinging to the ceilings of these subterranean spaces, camouflaging itself seamlessly with the natural rock formations. Piercers are silent hunters, descending from above to impale unsuspecting prey on the ground below. Remarkably, the Piercer is actually the larval form of a roper, another subterranean creature. These two creatures often coordinate their attacks. The Piercer's body is encased in a shell that resembles a stalactite, providing it with a rock-like appearance and texture. This protective shell hides its soft, slug-like upper body, allowing the Piercer to move across cavern walls and ceilings, positioning itself strategically to ambush its prey. When its eye and mouth are closed, a Piercer becomes exceptionally challenging to distinguish from ordinary rock formations. Piercers are patient and deliberate hunters. They possess limited vision, but are highly attuned to noise and heat. They patiently await the passage of living creatures beneath them, then strike swiftly from above. If a piercer misses its initial attack, it must slowly make its way back to the ceiling. To deter potential predators, a fallen piercer excretes a foul-smelling slime, dissuading most creatures from attempting to consume it. Intriguingly, piercers tend to gather in colonies to maximize their hunting efficiency. They coordinate their attacks, dropping simultaneously to increase the likelihood of successfully impaling their prey. Once a piercer claims a kill, its fellow colony members gradually approach the corpse to join in the gruesome feast. Pixies, diminutive and ethereal creatures, stand at a mere foot in height. They bear a striking resemblance to tiny elves with gossamer wings reminiscent of dragonflies or butterflies. These delicate wings shimmer with the brilliance of the clear dawn and the luminance of a full moonrise. Pixies possess an insatiable curiosity, akin to cats, and are as timid as deer. They move about freely, often choosing to spy on other creatures, barely able to contain their excitement. The overwhelming urge to introduce themselves and establish friendships is a defining trait of pixies. However, this desire is tempered by their deep-seated fear of capture or harm, keeping them cautious. When wandering through a glade inhabited by pixies, one might never catch a glimpse of these creatures, but you might hear the occasional giggle, gasp, or sigh echoing through the air. Pixies possess a sense of regal elegance akin to princes and princesses of the Fae. They attire themselves in flowing gowns and doublets crafted from silk that shimmers like moonlight on a tranquil pond. Some opt for attire made from acorns, leaves, bark, or the pelts of tiny woodland creatures. Pixies take immense pride in their outfits and radiate joy when their ensembles receive compliments. These Fae creatures wield innate magic, allowing them to remain invisible at will. Their presence leaves a mark on both the Feywild and the material plane. In their wake, they create frost patterns on winter ponds, awaken blossoms in spring, drape flowers with summer dew, and transform leaves into the blazing hues of autumn. Pixies are often accompanied by a mesmerizing shower of sparkling dust when they fly visibly. This pixie dust is believed to bestow the gift of flight, sow confusion among creatures, or induce a magical slumber in their adversaries. While only pixies can harness the full potential of their dust, mages and creatures alike seek them out to study or master their extraordinary power. Pixies, although timid, are not without their playful side. Upon the arrival of visitors, they initially remain concealed, studying the newcomers from afar to assess their temperament. Alternatively, they may indulge in harmless pranks to gauge their reactions. For instance, pixies might playfully tie a dwarf's boots together, conjure illusions of strange creatures or treasures, or lead trespassers astray with dancing lights. If the visitors respond with hostility, the pixies quickly retreat. However, if greeted with goodwill, the pixies become emboldened and friendlier. They may even reveal themselves, offering to guide their newfound acquaintances safely or inviting them to partake in a tiny yet delightful feast prepared in their honor. In stark contrast to their Fae counterparts, the sprites, pixies, harbor a deep aversion to violence. They abhor weapons and would rather flee than engage in physical confrontations with any foe. The Pseudodragon, a reclusive creature, takes refuge in the serene corners of the world, making its abode within tree hollows and small caves. With its red-brown scales, horned visage, and a maw adorned with sharp teeth, the Pseudodragon bears a resemblance to a miniature red dragon, but its temperament is far more playful. These diminutive creatures exhibit little interest in other beings and actively avoid them whenever possible. When faced with aggression, a Pseudodragon defends itself by deploying a poisonous stinger situated at the tip of its tail. A single strike from this stinger can induce a catatonic state in a creature that may persist for several hours. Pseudodragons often capture the attention of mages who seek their company due to their amiable nature, telepathic abilities, and innate resistance to magic. While pseudodragons are discerning in their choice of companions, they can occasionally be won over with offerings of food or treasures. Upon finding a compatible companion, a Pseudodragon forms a deep bond, provided it is treated with fairness and kindness. However, these creatures tolerate no ill treatment and will swiftly sever ties with a manipulative or abusive companion without warning. Although Pseudodragons do not possess the ability to speak, they communicate through a limited form of telepathy, allowing them to convey basic ideas such as hunger, curiosity, or affection. This telepathic connection also enables Pseudodragons to share their observations and experiences over considerable distances. In addition to telepathic communication, Pseudodragons use vocalizations to express themselves. A content Pseudodragon may emit a rasping purr, while a hiss signals surprise or discomfort. Chirping akin to that of birds signifies desire, while growls are reserved for instances of anger or discontent. The formidable purple worm, a colossal subterranean predator, strikes fear into the hearts of creatures inhabiting the Underdark. This colossal, voracious entity burrows through solid rock in relentless pursuit of its next meal, possessing a dim-witted and insatiable appetite, regarding anything it encounters as potential sustenance. The reverberations of loud noises attract purple worms, often causing them to disrupt subterranean conflicts or invade underground cities in search of prey. To deter these monstrous intrusions, the subterranean civilizations of the Drow, Duergar, and Mind Flayers employ specialized wards around their settlements. While most commonly found in the depths of the Underdark, purple worms also venture to the surface, particularly in rocky and mountainous regions. With a gaping maw large enough to swallow a horse whole, no creature is safe from their insatiable hunger. Purple worms propel themselves forward by rhythmically compressing and expanding their bodies, achieving surprising speed and catching other Underdark denizens off guard. Remarkably, as purple worms burrow through the earth, they ingest and break down rock and soil, continuously excreting what they consume. Within the bodies of these colossal creatures, one may discover precious metals and gems, drawing the attention of particularly brave or foolhardy treasure hunters. Furthermore, the ceaseless digging of a purple worm creates fresh tunnels throughout the Underdark, subsequently repurposed by other creatures as corridors and thoroughfares. Since purple worms seldom return to their own tunnels, these passageways are generally safe from their menacing presence. Regions teeming with potential prey often become interconnected through a network of intricate tunnel systems, a result of multiple purple worms hunting together. Quaggoths, savage and territorial creatures, make their homes in the depths of the Underdark. Their frenzied attacks become even more vicious when faced with death. In ancient times, Quaggoth tribes lived on the surface as nocturnal hunters with their own culture and language. However, conflict with the newly arrived elves nearly drove them to extinction. To survive, the Quaggoths sought refuge in the deep Underdark, where their fur lost its color and their vision adapted to the perpetual darkness. Over time, they transformed into the brutal and savage beings we know today, resorting to cannibalism as a means of survival and forsaking their past. The Drow, with whom they share a deep enmity due to their history with surface elves, have exploited this enmity, easily converting Quaggoths to their cause. In recent years, the Drow have even taken to breeding Quaggoths, encouraging their ferocity while reinforcing their obedience. Wealthy Drow houses now command legions of these savage creatures, using them for their own purposes, including leading surface raids against elven enclaves. Some Quaggoths possess psionic abilities, drawing from the Underdark's abundant psionic energy. These gifted individuals, known as Thonauts, play a vital role in Quaggoth tribes, preserving their lore and ensuring their dominance. A Thonaut that fails in their duties is ritually slain and consumed, with the hope that their power will pass to a more deserving Quaggoth. Generations of hunting venomous subterranean creatures and continuous exposure to underground molds and fungi have rendered Quaggoths immune to various poisons. This adaptation aids in their survival in the treacherous depths of the Underdark. The Rakshasa is a cunning and manipulative fiend that seeks to exert control over others through deception and guile. It possesses the ability to assume various guises, often preferring to masquerade as influential or powerful individuals, such as nobles, cardinals, or wealthy merchants. In its true form, a Rakshasa exhibits a combination of human and tiger features with the peculiar deformity of having palms where the backs of human hands would be. Originating in the 9 hells, Rakshasas were created through a dark ritual performed by powerful devils. This ritual allowed them to separate their essence from their fiendish bodies, granting them the ability to escape the confines of the lower planes. When a Rakshasa arrives in the material plane, it does so with an insatiable appetite for humanoid flesh and a thirst for evil schemes. It carefully selects its prey and takes great care to conceal its presence in the mortal world. For a Rakshasa, death on the material plane is a harrowing experience. It results in a torturous return to the 9 hells, where its essence remains trapped until it can reform a new body. This process can take months or even years. Upon rebirth, the Rakshasa retains all the memories and knowledge from its previous life, and it seeks vengeance against the one who ended its existence. If its target manages to evade retribution, the Rakshasa may turn its fury towards the target's family, friends, or descendants. It's important to note that Rakshasas killed in the 9 hells are permanently destroyed, unlike their counterparts on the material plane. Remorhazes are formidable creatures that dwell beneath the icy landscapes of Arctic regions. These massive beings are well adapted to their harsh environments, with their bodies emanating a scorching internal heat that contrasts sharply with their frozen surroundings. Their appearance is striking, with wing-like fins protruding from the back of their heads and mouths filled with razor-sharp teeth. In the world of Dungeons and Dragons, Remorhazes are known as Arctic predators. They roam the frozen wilderness, hunting prey such as elk and polar bears, asserting their dominance over the creatures that share their frigid territories. These monstrous beings are highly specialized for cold climates, relying on their internal furnace-like heat to survive in the bitter cold. Remorhazes are expert ambush predators. When they hunt, they employ a cunning strategy. These creatures burrow deep beneath the layers of snow and ice, concealing themselves from view. They lie in wait, patiently listening for the subtle vibrations created by the movements of creatures above. When the time is right, they strike, erupting from their hiding places to ensnare their unsuspecting prey. Remarkably, they can lower their body temperature while concealed, preventing their fiery nature from melting their icy cover. Frost giants, inhabitants of these frozen landscapes, are keenly aware of the existence of Remorhazes. They actively seek out the nests and eggs of these creatures. Young Remorhazes, in particular, are highly prized by the giants. These juvenile monsters can be raised and trained from birth to obey commands and serve as guardians for the frost giants' icy fortresses. Notably, young Remorhazes have a different feeding habit compared to their adult counterparts. Instead of swallowing their victims whole, they gnaw on them, showcasing their predatory nature from a young age. A Revenant is a supernatural entity born from the soul of a mortal who suffered a cruel and unjust death. Its sole purpose is to seek vengeance against the one responsible for its demise. When a Revenant returns to the world, it repossesses its mortal body, or, if that is not possible, takes over another humanoid corpse. Despite the state of its vessel, a Revenant's eyes distinguish it from a mere zombie. They blaze with determination and flare in the presence of its enemy. Regardless of the body it inhabits, the Revenant's true identity is always evident to its adversary. Driven by an unrelenting hunger for revenge, a Revenant has a limited time frame of 1 year to exact its retribution. If it succeeds in killing its target within this time, or if the adversary dies by other means, the Revenant fulfills its purpose and fades away into the afterlife. However, if the Revenant fails in its quest before the year is up, it crumbles to dust and its soul departs. When faced with adversaries too powerful to defeat alone, the Revenant seeks capable allies to aid in its mission. A Revenant possesses a supernatural sense of divine justice. It can always discern the direction and distance between itself and its target of vengeance, making it nearly impossible for the pursued creature to hide through magical means. In cases where the Revenant seeks retribution against multiple adversaries, it pursues them one by one, starting with the one who dealt the fatal blow that ended its life. If the Revenant's physical form is destroyed, its spirit seeks out a new host body to continue its relentless pursuit. One notable aspect of a Revenant's existence is its undead nature. It does not require air, food, drink, or sleep to sustain itself, allowing it to focus entirely on its quest for revenge without the usual biological needs and limitations that mortals face. The roc, a massive bird of prey, may initially resemble a typical avian predator, but its true enormity becomes evident as it descends from the sky. With a wingspan exceeding 200 feet, it dwarfs most other creatures in the air. When perched upon mountain peaks, its favored habitat, the roc rivals even the ancient dragons in size. These colossal birds, often referred to as sky titans, were created by Annam, the father of the giant gods, during the era when giants and dragons battled for dominion over the world's skies. Annam fashioned the rocs to challenge the dragons' aerial supremacy. After the conflict's conclusion, the rocs gained their freedom from giant control and dispersed across the world. While cloud giants and storm giants occasionally tame these formidable creatures, rocs view even giants as potential prey. They embark on long journeys in search of sustenance, soaring high above the clouds to reach their favored hunting territories. Rocs typically ignore swift or small prey, as well as settlements and forests where potential victims can easily seek refuge. Instead, they target larger, slower-moving creatures like giants, whales, or elephants, descending swiftly to snatch them in their massive talons. Rocs are known for their solitary and enduring existence. These creatures can live for centuries, establishing their lairs in nests constructed from various materials, including trees, tents, broken ships, and the remnants of caravans they've carried off. These nests are typically placed in mountain clefts, out of reach of most other creatures. Occasionally, a roc's nest may contain treasures from the caravans or ships they've raided, although the rocs themselves show no interest in such trinkets. More rarely, a roc's nest may hold enormous eggs, taller than a human, the product of the roc's infrequent mating rituals.